business, this is my company. I'm making money off of it. That is allowing me to live like this beautiful life that I get to enjoy, and I'm so lucky and fortunate, and it's all thank you to you. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Gabby. I'm a 25-year-old who travels the world full-time, runs retreats for a living, and is currently living in Bali, Indonesia. So today I'm going to show you how I do my makeup. It's super quick, super easy. I don't even use like beauty blenders or foundation. And I'm going to share with you guys the story of how I started my retreat business a few years ago. So let's get started. Hey guys, I'm getting confused on where to look at the camera because I have a really weird setup right now, so you don't see the camera, so I'm so sorry if I'm not giving eye contact, but let's get started. I'm super excited to share this. I love sharing the story. Recently I've been doing some retreat consultations, which are really fun because I think I'm going to go a lot into that industry of helping people build their retreats because there's such a life-changing industry and space, so it's really cool, and I'd love to start giving more consultations. But anyway, lately I've been giving them, so I've been having to repeat this story. Just like, you know what? Let me make a video out of it because I also wanted to do a little YouTube tutorial. So let's start. So for my first thing, I have the Makeup Forever HD Ultra Stick. Oh my god, guys, I've literally been using this my whole entire life. It is quite literally the best foundation, but the great part about this, especially for travelers, is you don't have to, I never use it as foundation, but if I ever really would want foundation or like a friend wants to borrow it, they can do that. I only put it with my finger, like you don't even need a beauty blender, underneath my under eyes. It's such good coverage, but it still looks natural, like you guys will see. I put it on my top. Anyway, so a few years ago, I graduated during COVID. I was supposed to go to Bali. That was always my dream. I had always watched YouTubers living in Bali. I always wanted to move here. And because of COVID, I was like, okay, that's obviously not a possibility anymore. So I'm going to go to Mexico for a bit. So I moved to Mexico with $2,000 in my bank account. And my plan was, let's just go travel, not think about doing work because I had homework, because I had been traveling for like a year or two before graduating, but I was literally full-time being a student. It just was a lot. So I was excited to not be doing anything but traveling for the first time in my life, and I wanted to do that before I got a real job. Before I tell you about the real job, I am going to use a CoverGirl Clean Fresh All Over Dewy Tint, and this is great because it's for eyes, lips, cheeks, and I do use it for all of those. I wanted to travel before getting a real job because my degree is in marketing. It's called Public Relations, Marketing, and Applied Communication. So it's quite broad. It also means that it could be like a literal office job for a business. And me being passionate about something that's not for me, that sounded so selfish. But that's not what I meant. I just didn't want to work for something that wasn't mine, for a cause that I didn't care enough about. Once again, only use my fingers, like you do not even need a beauty blender. And I put it everywhere you're looking. So I went to Mexico. I was living literally in Puerto, Oaxaca, which is where I had my first retreats. I was just living in hostels, legit, no air conditioning. It was like $6 a night in like 100-degree weather. I had the best time ever. I fell in love with my life, with this town, with the people. I had best friends there. I literally couldn't leave. I was supposed to be there for like a month, and I ended up staying for about like I think 4 or 5 months and going in debt like $3,000. I ended up being towards my last days in which I had no money left. I had to go back and work because I was fully decked out, which was only like $3,000. And it was so worth it because I went home, worked at a summer camp for the summer, and literally paid the $3K in one summer and then continued my life and traveled again. So, and by the way, this is not advice for you to get credit cards to travel. I'm just saying, if you're really young, it's not that scary if it's just like $1,000 or $2,000, and it's gonna be super worth it for you to be inspired and travel. So I traveled, and I didn't want to leave yet, but I had no more capacity on my credit card. So now I take the Milani powder, and I just go over pretty much all the areas I just went with this thing. This is literally so hard for me right now to like do my makeup while explaining. I didn't want to leave. And I had this amazing idea because I forgot to say this. I literally, within like 2 months of living in Puerto, I started posting really casual TikToks about my daily life, about my friends, about how there was such thing as like beauty that literally looked like Europe and Hawaii, but in Mexico, like a $100 flight from Miami, and how it could be just so attainable, and how hostels were $6 and super casual iPhone stuff. Some of it went viral. I mean, not super viral. Like I think my first few months I had like 10,000 followers, maybe a little less, but so many people were messaging me like, oh my god, girl, you're literally living my dream, like, can I go travel with you? And I would sometimes respond and be like, I mean, sure, girl, come stay at the hostel I'm staying at, like, it's a public hostel. Yeah, and then I had the idea, why don't I just rent a house and I invite these people, all these people that are messaging me, and I'll just live in it for free because I'll just charge them a little bit more. And for me, to live in a house, a pool house with air conditioning, I was like, that is the coolest thing on earth for free for 2 weeks. Like, I was like, that is insane. I'm gonna do this. And so I did it. I had random people come and I made an itinerary for them. It was 10 days and there were some boys and some girls. It was the most magical, perfect thing ever. Shout out to my first Happy Seeker group because you guys made it so special. Like, you have such a special place in my heart. Still to this day, like, that was the most amazing time. Generally, everything went as planned. We were one big family. There's no drama. It was literally just the most wonderful time ever. Got to live for free. I went home after this and I went to Pennsylvania and worked a summer camp job at Chestnut Lake, which was the best thing ever. And I'm not working this summer and it's my first time not working in a few years. And I'm so sad. Like, genuinely, I love that camp so much and watching their stories makes me miss it so much. Also, seasonal work is such a great way to experience life in a different way, but also make some money and save some money because you usually don't have to pay for rent. Moving on, by the way, we're gonna do with the Milani eyeliner, and I'll go in with mascara, and I'm gonna put a little bit of glitter in my inner lid from the Twin Flame multicolor pigment. After that, the camp ended. I decided to go work in the Hamptons for a bit and make a lot of freaking cash because people tip so in the Hamptons because everyone's rich there. And they obviously gave me somewhere to live because people who live in the Hamptons don't need to work because they're rich. I'm not kidding, guys. Like, people don't believe me for some odd reason, as if I would be lying for what? What do I get out of this? I made like $10,000 in a month, one of the months. Anyway, being a server at like a really nice restaurant, and also I had so much fun. Like, I loved it. And so I saved up, you know, I think around like $5,000. This is probably the worst wing I've ever done in my life, actually, because I'm like looking at the camera, but we're just gonna ignore that. Saved up like $5,000 and then decided to go travel again and not get a real job yet. So it's like, that was my plan. And then I started getting all these messages. When are you doing your thing again? My thing? Like, literally, my thing? What? When are you doing your thing again? I was like, oh, I don't know. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll do another one. I didn't even know what to call them. They were not called retreats yet. My first one was a co-live, like, come live with strangers. It wasn't a business. It was just me trying to live for free because I couldn't afford to live anymore and I wanted to stay in that town a little bit longer because I loved it so much. I was just doing what made me happy. I just followed my bliss, like, seriously. And look at where it took me. Like, when you follow your bliss, the universe hands you it on a platter. It helps you when you really follow what you're supposed to be doing. Don't overthink it too much. Don't be like, is this it? No. Are you enjoying it? Is this making you happy? Then yeah, keep doing it. Are you not enjoying it? Then no, it's definitely not what you're meant to be doing. If you're not enjoying it or if it doesn't make you happy, that goes for jobs, schools, countries, states you live in, friends, relationships. Yeah. So it's like, okay, and I decided to travel for like 5 months. I went to Guatemala, did 2 backpackers there. I went back to Mexico, but to other parts of Mexico besides my favorite town because I wanted to explore Mexico because there's just so much beauty in Mexico. And then I went and lived in Panama for a bit on these islands that literally look like the Maldives, which I have a YouTube vlog on, so go watch actually if you'd like. Guys, I'm not kidding. I got 500 applications. Like, it's still mind boggles me that many people applied because I feel like I only had like maybe 20,000 TikTok followers. But I just like asked my friends to post about it. Some of the videos went a little bit viral. People applied. People wanted to come. And I made it, I guess, a business. Like, this time I was like, okay, I'm gonna make money this time. Because the first time I obviously did not make any money. Which I'm forgetting a step. So, let's add Addison Rae lip gloss. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed, but let me finish the story now. So, where were we? So I decided to travel. So I went to those 3 countries and my plan was to find another location to have another retreat. And I literally, when I tell you, I kept looking for a place that I loved as much as Puerto, but also a place that was certain things because if I'm going to be hosting people, it needs to have this. And that was safety, reliability, like super safe town where there was a lot to do in nature. So there was a lot of free things we could do and explore and not think about money. A town that had big houses, like villas, because like Panama, I did love the nature and I felt quite safe, but there were literally, on the islands that I was on, there was no big houses that I could possibly have a retreat. So it was like none of the places I went could check off all the boxes that would essentially allow me to have a retreat that I felt comfortable having and like passionate about hosting, because at the end of the day, like the reason I hosted my first time was because I loved that place so much too that I wanted to show people. Like I was just so motivated to show people how easy and attainable traveling could be. So I didn't find a place. I didn't like any of the places enough. And I was like, you know what? F it. I'm just gonna do another one in Puerto. At the end of the day, that was probably the right choice because work-wise, I had to do less work. I already had the house, I already had the connections, I already had the itinerary, I already had the passion and love for the town. I already knew it. I lived there for like 6 months of my life, and I wanted to come back. There was no place that I loved more than that place, so it was gonna be great for me. So I decided to do it, and you know, I got the 500 applications. I rented the house for 10 days, so that meant that like 11 or 12 people could fit. And with the 500 applications, I was like, holy, what the heck? Like this, it actually made me sad because it's like all these people think this is like some exclusive thing. Like that's not what I meant to do. And yes, that's great for business, but like I didn't want to create this like mean girl aesthetic. Like it was literally me trying to inspire people that traveling could be attainable. And then out of nowhere, it was like, oh, please, can you choose me? And they'd send me like paragraphs about how much this would mean to them. And I literally couldn't choose them because I had already chosen the 12 people based on literally having to choose people that I knew, because there was like certain coworkers or people from my high school that applied here, and I was like, I can't just say no to these people. Like I literally see them in my town. And then so all these strangers that applied, they were just no's, and people kept applying, and I was like, I feel bad, like they don't even have a chance. And back in the day, there wasn't other like group travel experiences and stuff, so it's not that they could just like go and sign up on another one. I was like, maybe they're not gonna travel now. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna rent another 10 days and I'll do 2, so double the people can come. So then that filled up way too quick. And then I felt bad again. And so then I'm like, okay, for the second session, I'm gonna rent another house and have even more people come. And so with those 3 different ones, I made, I'm not gonna say how much money I made, but I made in that month the same that I make now in 1 retreat. And I'm going to tell you guys, having those 2 retreats together was the biggest mistake of my life. It was literally the most stressful month of my whole entire universe.
I just want to say that all these mistakes that happened that you're about to hear, I had to learn from in order to be where my company is now, and in order for me to feel comfortable enough and happy and pleased enough with what I'm giving people, because I have learned so much from every single retreat, as well as the tea you're about to hear about certain things that weren't so good that happened in my retreats. I do want to say that most of the people that came on those retreats still to this day tell me that for them it was an incredible and amazing time, and it was life-changing for them, which is exactly what I would hope for. But for me as the host, it was not enjoyable. So here you are about to hear why it wasn't enjoyable for me to host and run the retreats.
People had COVID and almost broke their nose. There was a volunteer that I got that was so rude, gave COVID to people, did stuff with multiple girls in the house, which I was just so disrespectful. It was messy, guys. My 2 Mexico retreats were messy, and after that I'm like, I'm never doing this again. I mean, I had mean girls on it. I had like, seriously, there was girls who caused drama and were literally mean to my face. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, guys, I'm doing this out of the bottom of my heart to be like, to inspire, and it was just so crazy, and I did not have a great time. I mean, I still had some great days, but a lot of the time I was really stressed and crying and wondering if this was even a lifestyle that was for me, and if I could even ever handle doing this again. It was just so much liability, and I was in charge of like 16 girls the first session and like 30 people the second session, and I just had no organization. I was learning through it, and it was just a lot. And then after that, I'm like, I'm never having it again. And I fast forward and I go to Greece for the summer to do a World Packers. Code is Happy Secret, all caps. I love World Packers. As you can see, I literally have done so many. I was going to travel for free. Essentially, it's just doing, you know, living somewhere for free, getting some food for free sometimes in exchange for giving your time. So I went to Greece and I cleaned Airbnbs. And I lived the most magical place in Milos, Greece. Magical time. And I was like, I want to have a happy seeker now. Like, I'm inspired enough because I want to show people Milos. Like, it was the most unreal place in this whole planet that I had seen. Having food for like $3 a meal. It wasn't that expensive to stay there, and people, like, when they think of Greece, they think of Mykonos, and Mykonos is like $100 per like dinner, and you know, hotels are like $600 a night. And I was like, people have dreams to go to Greece, but they don't because they think they can't. And then there's all these other islands that are actually way more beautiful and so cheap, so affordable compared to other places. I need to do this again. I want to show people this place. It's amazing, and I'm inspired. So I decided to do it, and I brought down, instead of having it 10 days, I did 7 days. And instead of having it be 30 people, because I said I would never, ever, ever do that again, I decided to do 5 people. I just did the complete opposite. And Greece was cute, it was fun, but I've learned stuff from every single one of my retreats, and from that one, I enjoyed having more people. 5 people is like too little to create like a big family, to have enough like different types of personalities and interactions, which is like so fun and yummy and eclectic, and people learn from each other. Like 5 is just not a big enough group in my opinion for that. And I love you, my Greece family. Retreat and business wise, this is how I see it. But it went well, and I enjoyed it, and I barely made money off of that because Europe is just expensive, and we stayed in really pretty places right on the water, but I didn't mind it. And honestly, I just wanted to say, hey, I run a retreat in Europe. Like, that just sounds so cool. And at that point, I still didn't feel like I was a retreat owner or had a company. I was just kind of winging it and going as I went. And I moved to Bali, and now I've had 3 in Bali. I have one in Croatia this summer. I have one in Colombia in November, and I have one in Colombia again in January, and I have more next year, and I'm fully running retreats. This is my business. This is my company. I'm making money off of it that is allowing me to live like this beautiful life that I get to live, and I'm so lucky and fortunate, and it's all thank you to you guys who support me. And yeah, thank you so much. That's the story of how I started my company, how everything came along. Obviously there's way more. Now I'm about to go on my 8th retreat in a month, and if you want to come, it's in Hvar, Croatia. It's a yoga retreat. I'll actually put the applications down below if you want to come. I guess just learn that trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, trusting your bliss, trusting your happiness is such an important thing, because look where you might end up. And comment any questions you have, and I'll answer every single question that I get on YouTube. Send this to a friend that might be interested in starting retreats or might find this cool and inspirational. I am a new creator, and to get my YouTube out there because I love inspiring people to travel, live a life out of their comfort zone, and just a life that's more intentional and happy. So I love you. I'll see you next Wednesday for my next video, which is every single Wednesday.